Photorealism. Okay, let's take a look at the next few pictures. That's right, they're pretty nice, wouldn't you say? Good lighting, good subject. Now look at it again. There's really no trick to it. They're not just pictures, but rather they are artworks. Hand-drawn, hand-painted. Yes, handmade. You heard that right. This type of artwork is called photorealism, an art style and art movement. The goal is for the artist to study images and subjects and try to reproduce them manually to appear as realistic as possible in another medium. As an art movement, photorealism started as an offshoot of the pop art movement in the US from the 60s to 70s. It was seen as counterculture to abstract expressionism and minimalism, as the style does the opposite by trying to capture as much detail as possible. This resulted to works that, in a sense, mirror reality as it is. The word photorealism was coined by Louis K. Maisel in 1969. He was also responsible for developing its corresponding definitions, some of which include: the photorealist uses the camera and photograph to gather information. The photorealist uses a mechanical or semi-mechanical means to transfer the information to the canvas. The photorealist must have the technical ability to make the finished work appear photographic. So how does one achieve photorealism? Well, there are actually a couple of ways. The first thing the artist needs is a photograph of the subject. That's what he or she will use as reference in creating the work of art. By using a photograph, factors such as lighting and movement are frozen in time, which makes it easier for the artist to reproduce it. Some artists use projection and grid lighting techniques to accurately capture the proportion and look of the photograph. But it doesn't stop there. The artist needs to have mastery of light and shadowing and perspective. Understanding concepts behind these three factors are the key to making artworks appear realistic. When using pencil and ink as a medium, notice how realism artists pay close attention to not just the color of the pencil and the whiteness of paper, but rather with the shades of gray. Yes, to understand this point, go ahead and check out any old-timey photograph or any black and white photograph. If it was only purely black and white, it would look like this. Not so realistic, huh? That's because our eyes do not work like that. And the world does not work like that as well. Here, look at this black and white photo. Notice that there's varying shades of gray that make it up. And that's what realism artists study and recreate on the canvas. To do this, artists use pencils with varying darkness, which are accompanied by shading techniques and various tools used to blend shades of gray. When done correctly, you wouldn't even know if it was a photograph or a drawing. When it comes to colored artworks, the principle is the same, but this time, it's not just shades of gray. You have to deal with colors as well. Why? Painting a portrait reveals how many colors go into just getting the skin tone right. Just look at this example. Notice how the artist mixes the base color with whites and other colors with varying tones? That's because it is how light affects colors in the real world. Notice how when light is directly above or on top of an object, its color slightly appears lighter, while those with less lighting appear darker, while the spaces between the light and darks have varying hues. Notice how lines and colors trick us into seeing depth in a 2D image? And it's not just knowing about the effects of light and shadow. Photorealism is a very demanding art form, which requires artists to have a certain level of skills and lots of training to pull off the photorealistic look.